Bolo Yeung, Chinese actor, bodybuilder, and master of martial arts, became famous thanks to the film Enter the Dragon starring Bruce Lee, also known for his roles as Chong Li in Bloodsport, Moon in Double Impact, and Shingo in Shoot Fighter and Shoot Fighter 2. Everyone has seen him in the movies, but few people know that Bolo Yeung is a real master of Yang-style Tai Chi. Unlike actors who train certain movements and strikes only for movies, so that it looks impressive and beautiful on camera, Bolo can easily stand up for itself in real life. Many of my colleagues prefer to deliver sweeping punches and kicks on the screen, which look beautiful and are very popular with a not-so-sophisticated viewer, but I give preference to more subtle movements, although what is important is not the demonstration of the technique, but the person who demonstrates this technique. On the screen I try to convey not the form but the content, not the external aspects of martial arts but the internal ones. I demonstrate not so much the technique as the spirit. A person who has simply mastered the technique can deliver 100 beautiful kicks and a sophisticated viewer will remain indifferent. But the true it is enough for the master to perform one imperceptible but filled with energy and spirit movement so that the same viewer understands who is in front of him. Yeung Zi is exactly the real name of the actor born on July 3, 1946 in Guangzhou, this is in China, in the family of a businessman and a housewife. Like many young Chinese, Bolo began to study martial arts from local masters. In addition, he became interested in acrobatics and later bodybuilding. Unlike other guys who spend little time training with iron, he became very interested in developing strength through intensive training with heavy weights and building muscle mass. The future in communist China did not suit the young man. In the 60s, Bolo leaves his home and country to start an independent life in Hong Kong. The path there becomes the first test. To get to the treasured island, a young man overcomes the strait by swimming. Having moved to Hong Kong, Bolo decides to begin a new life. The period of job search and new opportunities for an ambitious guy, while at that time he already had a magnificent pumped-up body and knowledge of how to achieve such results, so his first job in Hong Kong was as a bodybuilding teacher. All this time Yeung did not stop practicing martial arts. He constantly practiced Qigong and Tai Chi of the Yang style. While working in Hong Kong, the guy improved his body, and in the 70s won the title of Mr. Hong Kong. This is a title he held for 10 years. His powerful physique and martial arts skills quickly attracted the attention of major film studios. In particular, the studio is very interested in him. Brothers show opens young action filmography The Wandering Swordsman. In the film, the debutant gets a supporting role. The producers like the Be on the Lookout technique so much that in 3 years he is invited to star in 10 more film studios, including in films The Heroic Ones, The Deadly Duo and The Angry Guest. He almost always plays healthy, disgusting villains, and what a pump-up he becomes. The larger the role he was given and the more terrible his villain was on the screen. This time can be considered the beginning his career. In parallel with these events, Yeung starred in several television productions and commercials, in particular in a cigarette advertisement, where he meets Bruce Lee, who in '73 invites him to play a character named Bolo in his new film Enter the Dragon. His role in this film was not very different from his previous roles. He still plays the villain, but the fact that he will play with Bruce Lee cast aside all doubts. During filming, Bruce Lee and Yeung became very good friends. They often trained together and talked about kung fu. Yeung Zi was I'm a little dissatisfied that in this film there will be no fight between his hero and Bruce Lee. Many believe that the absence of this confrontation is the only disappointment in the film. Although this fight wasn't planned from the very beginning, but Bruce promised to kill Yeung in his next movie Game of Death. But 10 days after this promise, when the post-production of the film Enter the Dragon was almost over, Bruce was gone. Yeung Zi said that his role in this film, and his character's name was Bolo, was the most important in his life. Since then he took the name Bolo Yeung. There was also a slight error in the credits. He was presented there as the Southeastern champion in Shotokan karate, but in fact his skills and experience were much more advanced than being a black belt in some discipline which he never didn't practice. Bolo also said that in terms of kung fu he couldn't compete with Bruce Lee. Many people ask me about him, especially foreigners, what kind of person he was. Bruce was a man with extraordinary thoughts. He was always polite to the people who work for him. He drove a Mercedes and could sit quietly on a dusty sidewalk to play cards with friends. The characters whose characters Bruce Lee played were always heroes. They were strong but simple people. In reality, Bruce was a very deep man. He constantly talked about things that could not be or not related to martial arts. What should we do to remain human? Why are we in this world? Does it exist God, or is there some other higher power? For people to improve, he said, you need to improve yourself spiritually and physically every day. Improve your skills and abilities. That's the only way people will become better. I had the opportunity to come to America back in '73. All the plans were made and all that. Then Bruce Lee passed away and everything collapsed. So I'm 17 years late. Maybe I'm a little old now, but that's not a problem. Often people come up to me for an autograph and say that they liked my work on the Enter the Dragon. But people only know me from the film. They don't really know who I am. But throughout the 70s and 80s, Yeung starred in more than 60 films, usually appearing in the role of a villain, and where he killed by the main character. Mostly Yeung acts in cheap films of dubious quality, strengthening his image among fans. Everyone immediately remembers his fighting style. A distant look during Blows. In 1988, after a short break, Yeung starred in the film Bloodsport, where he played with a then-beginning actor Jean-Claude Van Damme. After the film was shot, due to the problems that arose, it might never have been released, but Van Damme helped finish the editing, and the audience still saw this picture. For many, their first acquaintance with Yeung was from this film. He becomes a real star. The movie is my work, is my life, the actor admits. I am calm about the fact that I play scum. I was never upset that I was periodically defeated or killed. In the end, these roles brought me worldwide fame. For the film Legacy of Rage, Yeung trained Brandon Lee for several weeks to make him look more convincing on screen, and the actor continues to collaborate with Van Damme in the film Double Impact, where he plays the role of Moon. And later, that long-awaited moment comes when Yeung begins to play good guys. This happened in the films Shoot Fighter, Fight to the Death, TC 2000 and Shoot Fighter 2. After '96 there was a break in his acting career. In 2007 Yeung accepted an invitation to star in the film Blizny Boy, The Ultimate Fighter, produced by the film worked in Kazakhstan and the USA. In 2015 he starred in the action movie The Whole World at Our Feet. In the USA it was released in cinemas in 2017 under the name Diamond Cartel. Yeung also appeared in one of the episodes documentary project Jean-Claude Van Damme, Behind Closed Doors, dedicated to the American star. As for his personal life, Yeung is married. The couple had 3 children, 2 sons and daughter. The family lives in the suburbs of Los Angeles. The eldest son, David, like his father, has been involved in martial arts since childhood and bodybuilding. He works as a fitness trainer and runs a YouTube channel. At 74 years old, Yeung continues to train. Every morning, as in his youth, the actor begins with a workout that lasts about 2 hours. Yeung also runs a physical training commercial organization in Hong Kong, and runs the Taipei branch of the International Bodybuilding Association, and continues to train students. Without a doubt, Once Upon a Time action films with Yeung were interesting to watch, like Bloodsport and Shoot Fighter. But it seems to me now is the time for new heroes, and better productions with fight scenes. Monsters from the East, that's what the fans called him, because Bolo Yeung was and remains one of cinema's most iconic villains, and although the actor is many years old, people still are interested in this man, and are looking for new facts about his life and training. We will discuss Yeung's views on martial arts, find out how he pumped up his phenomenal chest, and how bodybuilding influenced his life. Bolo Yeung is famous for playing negative characters who truly inspired fear in spectators. However, in real life he is the complete opposite to his characters. Bolo Yeung is a very kind, fair and modest person. Despite the fact that he was the owner of the most beautiful male body in Hong Kong, he never tried to show off his muscles, because that he didn't like to attract attention. In one of his interviews, Bolo Yeung said, "I don't like to stand out. I feel somehow uncomfortable that strangers are constantly staring at my body, especially women who most often look at me. I of course can guess what they are thinking about, because Chinese women think traditionally, and are not used to seeing mutants like me. Although of course time is changing and they look at me more with interest than with misunderstanding, but I'm married, and I have a growing child, so the question of strangers doesn't bother me." Interested, Bolo Yeung won the title of Mr. Hong Kong in 1971 and 1975, and he was also awarded the title of Mr. Asia, that is recognized as the strongest bodybuilder in Asia. The athlete's height is only 168 centimeters, and the maximum muscle weight reached 80 kilograms. At the peak of his form, Bolo Yeung's training lasted from 3 to 5 hours a day. In those years he was a real bodybuilding fanatic. Trained crazy, ate a lot of meat, and took various dietary supplements. "When I first started training I was a skinny little guy Chinese, now everything has changed, and my body is a reflection of my spirit," says Bolo Yeung. "I have always been involved in martial arts, but I felt that I lacked power. In battle with heavier opponents it became quite difficult for me. Already then I understood that something needed to be done. But today I look at bodybuilding as a sport, which helps me maintain health and strength, is an art in itself, but it irritates me that many people look at me with some degree of contempt, as if I am some kind of a strange animal." In the 70s, Bolo Yeung swam across the strait to Hong Kong, where he opened a bodybuilding school. Soon he were offered roles in films. Bodybuilding was the reason why Bruce Lee met Bolo Yeung, because at that time Bruce Lee was fanatically looking for methods to become stronger, and came to the conclusion that the only way to become stronger is to do weight training. Bruce Lee talked for a few minutes with Bolo Yeung and immediately recognized him as his equal, gladly inviting him to collaborate in a movie, and this is not surprising. Frightening pectoral muscles, back and powerful biceps, together with frantic charisma inspired fear and awe. And this is exactly what is needed for a villain in a movie. "Cinema is my job, my life," is recognized as an actor. "I'm calm about the fact that I play scum. I was never upset that in the movies I was periodically defeated or killed. In the end these roles brought me world fame." From the point of view of bodybuilding, Yeung had wonderful winning proportions, unique breasts combined with huge biceps, which at that time were considered the key to success. Bolo Yeung essentially looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the 70s. But with a higher body fat content, which by the way it didn't aggravate the picture at all, he still looked excellent. Of course Bolo Yeung didn't have some kind of aesthetics, such as Jean-Claude Van Damme, but he had something else, which can be called the aesthetics of mass. In order to achieve this form, Bolo Yeung trained as a powerlifter. He performed heavy basic exercises, such as deadlifts, squats, bench presses lying down, military press and pull-ups with weight. Also Bolo Yeung did not refuse to perform snatches and jerks, which in his opinion greatly developed strength strike. Since Bolo Yeung was also involved in martial arts, with regard to performing isolating exercises, then here Bolo Yeung argued that until you have acquired enough mass to perform these exercises are not worth it. They can only help tone muscle groups, but building mass with their help is very problematic. Of course everyone is interested in how to pump up the same breasts as Bolo Yeung. The bodybuilder always admitted that in his case the genetic structure of the chest helps him, but even if you don't have such genetics, then your weapon is only one most important exercise, the bench press. Bolo Yeung recommends doing the bench press 1 or 2 times a week, working on single repetitions with a reserve, from 3 to 5 sets and ending with the so-called build-up. For sets of 5 times, Bolo believed that the stronger you become in the bench press, the more muscle you get will grow in your shoulder girdle and chest, and vice versa. The more muscle you gain, the greater the result in the bench press becomes. If suddenly you notice that you have gained weight and think that you have gained muscle, and at the same time your result in the bench press remains the same, it means you have gained not muscle but fat. Another important question that is raised to this day is whether Bolo Yeung trained naturally or used certain drugs. Some are sure that Bolo Yeung is a natural athlete, others believe that he used doping. In most films Bolo Yeung lacks round shoulders, crazy vascularity, cobra-like trapezoids, and year-round dryness, generally recognized signs indicating doping use. Another way to understand whether an athlete is using drugs is to study the fluidity of his form. For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger being at the peak of his career in the 1970s, he looked quite dry and voluminous. However, after leaving the competitive scene, just a year later he lost significant weight. Simply put, he was deflated. A rollback in form is inevitable if the athlete refuses to take drugs, and his body recovers to the initial state of the hormonal system. And soon Arnold himself admitted that he used drugs in preparation for competitions. Bolo Yeung throughout his career has not been noticed in such changes in form. He looks about the same as 40 years ago in the film Enter the Dragon, as in 2007, but of course he has aged, and yet he has grown up a little shape. Age makes itself felt, but it is definitely worth recognizing that he has retained most of his muscle mass over the years, which can be considered a convincing sign of his naturalness. In 2006, the Yahoo search engine conducted a survey, who according to users is the best actor in kung fu films, and Bolo Yeung took second place right after Bruce Lee. In 2011, Bolo Yeung came to Russia at the invitation of one of the fitness clubs. In the 90s he already visited Moscow, and announced work on a joint film, but the project was never realized. Bolo also appeared in one of the episodes of the documentary project Jean-Claude Van Damme, Behind Closed Doors. It is worth noting that Yeung also appeared in several documentaries dedicated to Bruce Lee. Bolo is now the chairman of the Hong Kong Physical Education Business Organization and manager of the Taipei International Bodybuilding Association. He also conducts master classes, creative meetings, and autograph sessions. He starts every morning with a 2-hour workout, and does not smoke or drink alcohol. 77-year-old Bolo Yeung's net worth is estimated at $1.5 million, mostly from real estate. Since 2018, the actor has lived in Monterey Park in California, in a 2-story house with 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. On the ground floor there is a dining room with an elegant chandelier, and a large open kitchen with a dining area that turns into living room with fireplace, and 1 bedroom. There are 3 more bedrooms on the 2nd floor, and in the backyard there is a recreation area with a gazebo and fountain. The garage has space for 4 cars. But only one Bolo car is known, an Audi A3 convertible worth $49,000. Affable and calm in life, Bolo Yeung always knew how to bring a sense of real threat on the other side of the screen. He tried not to turn martial arts into a circus, and said that the real professional must make one move that will be watched with bated breath.